The greater the expectation, the greater the disappointment. At this moment, Zhao Tian's finally understood what Xiantong meant before, that people will not look at him in a good way. It turned out to be this. What can a second-order void return stage do? Even if he has the ability to fight people at higher realm, it is impossible to influence the current situation. His arrival will not help the overall situation much. Can only barely say that there is an extra helper. Zhao Tianzi's mood suddenly became lost. But at any rate, he is also the city lord. He has a good relationship with Xiantong, Lin Yurao and others. Of course, it is impossible to be too obvious. With a smile on his face, he greeted with a fist. Zhao has seen Sect Master Yang. Sect Master Yang? Well, sure enough, it is young and promising. This compliment is insincere. Anyone can hear it. Yang Kai was polite and naturally didn't mean to care. Xiantong and Lin Yurao looked at each other without explaining too much. They only need to know that Yang Kai is strong. It can be said that when Yang Kai arrives alone, it was at least better than the other third-order void return stage. This gave them the confidence to stay here. Well, there is actually a second-order void return stage here. He actually lived in the blood prison for so long, so lucky. But his luck is coming to an end. I bet he will not survive today. He really don't know how to live or die. He actually came near Domain Stone Mountain. This kid is really stupid. Not only can he not help his companions when he arrives, but it also exposes the weaknesses of their team. Look, they're done. Whispers suddenly sounded around. Countless cultivators came to Yongka's attention, all looking at him with a playful look, as if they were looking at something strange. Around the Domain Stone Mountain, there are hundreds of void return stage powerhouses, all at the third-order realm. Yang Kai, a second-order void return stage, was sandwiched alone between them, and suddenly he stood out from the crowd. It will naturally arouse everyone's attention and discussion. Yang Kai calmed down and didn't care about the noise of those people, but Zhao Tianzi's expression became more and more uneasy. Originally, he, Xiantong, and Lin Yurao were here. Even if some people looked at them with unkind intentions, they could rely on their own imposing manner to stabilize the situation. But when Yang Kai came, the location they were in immediately became the focus of attention, and a series of spiritual mind swept here, a strong aura oppressing the place, and he suddenly became a little nervous. The arrival of this young man named Yang Kai seemed to make their situation more difficult. He watched from side to side, sweat gradually oozing from his forehead. Yang Kai. There seems to be something wrong with these two guys. They have been looking at our side. Xiantong moved to Yongka's side and whispered. While speaking, he gestured to the side. Following his gaze, Yang Kai looked around, and suddenly found two martial artists of third-order void return stage not far away. Constantly scanning their side, seeing Yongka's gaze, one of them stared at him without hesitation, and at the same time sneered in his mouth. The other person, holding a communication compass in his hand, is constantly communicating with someone. I see. Yang Kai nodded slightly, a suspicious expression flashing across his face. He vaguely felt that the clothes worn by the two men were familiar, as if they had seen the same everywhere. But he has been living in the Shadowed Star. Basically, he rarely interacts with the martial artists of other cultivation stars, and he don't remember when he saw him. Is it in the Emperor Garden? Yang Kai secretly thought that it was only during the days when the Emperor Garden was opened that he had frequent dealings with other martial artists of the cultivation star. By the way, where is this place, and what is this huge domain stone? How come so many people have gathered? Yang Kai retracted his gaze, and asked in doubt. He came here anxiously when he sensed Xiantong's call. As for Domain Stone Mountain's information, he knew nothing. This is Domain Stone Mountain, Xiantong replied. We only know that there is such a thing in the blood prison. Please ask Brother Zhao to tell you about the specific situation. He knows more about it. Then I will have to bother City Lord Zhao. Yang Kai cupped his fist to Zhao Tian's. Sect Master Yang is polite. Zhao Tian's chuckled dryly. Although he was still a little uneasy, it was okay to explain the mystery of Domain Stone Mountain to Yang Kai, and he explained it to him. Hearing what he said, Yang Kai suddenly became interested. So, the chance of Domain Stone Mountain's appearance is very small. This is natural. Out of 10 trials in the Blood Prison, Domain Stone Mountain may appear only once. Besides, it is surrounded by terrifying domains all year round, and no one can approach it. Zhao Tian's nodded. No one thought about taking it away? Yang Kai stared at the huge domain stone with scorching eyes. If such a large piece of domain stone could be taken away, the Void King realm would be jealous, right? Put it in any sect, it can become the treasure of the sect, and many Void King realm will be born because of it. The gentle artistic conception it exudes can make people feel safe and secure. Sect Master Yang is joking. Zhao Tian's twitched his mouth. Not to mention that the rock in this area is so heavy that no one can move it. Even if someone moves it, they don't dare to touch it without authorization. Why is this? Yang Kai was stunned. If it triggers the lurking powerful domain, who can resist? Zhao Tian's looked solemnly, looking at Yang Kai with a strange expression. He wanted to say that Yang Kai was somewhat ignorant and useless, but he was embarrassed to speak up. So that's it. Yang Kai nodded lightly, finally understood the peculiarities of this Domain Stone Mountain, stared at the Domain Stone Mountain seriously for a while, then suddenly grinned. But this is really a godsend opportunity. Occupy a good place, then don't waste time, hurry up and comprehend the mystery. I think many of them are already doing this. Just rely on a few of us? Zhao Tian's was stunned. Who else are you waiting for? It's not about who we're waiting for. It's just that with a few of us alone, in case we were attacked by someone in the process of understanding the mystery, the consequences would be disastrous. Zhao Tian's worried, pointing to the group with the largest number of people. Sect Master Yang, look over there. There are a lot of them. You can separate 2 people to guard the surroundings, and the others can fully understand the mystery, but we only have 4. I'll protect the law for you, and the 3 of you will comprehend the mystery first. Yang Kai said openly and honestly. This. Zhao Tian's was stunned and showed a trace of gratitude. Although he was a little disappointed with Yang Kai's arrival, Yang Kai's doing so undoubtedly made him very touched. Regardless of his strength, this young man has a good character. Sect Master, why don't I come to protect the law? Lin Yurao took the initiative to ask. No, I will let you comprehend the mystery first, don't waste time. Yang Kai waved his hand and urged, the earlier you enter enlightenment, the more benefits you will get. Okay. Qiantong pondered for a while and nodded. Then Yang Kai, you will have to take more care, and we will not sink into it deeply. If there is any movement, we will react to it immediately. I'll change with you when I'm enlightened for a while. Yep. Qiantong and Lin Yuro looked at each other and sat down cross-legged. Zhao Tian's hesitated, and walked to Qiantong's side and said in a low voice, Elder Qian, can we really do this? He really can't rest assured about putting his safety in Yang Kai's hands. He would rather have Qiantong or Lin Yurao standing by to protect the law, and he would feel more at ease. Yang Kai works, you put 100 hearts on it. Qiantong stretched out his hand and patted his shoulder, speaking earnestly. Zhao Tian smiled bitterly. He really didn't know where Qiantong had so much confidence in Yang Kai, but seeing that both he and Lin Yurao had closed their eyes and comprehend the mystery, he couldn't help the Domain Stone Mountain's temptation to himself. He gritted his teeth and sat cross-legged. But he did not dare to immerse his mind too deeply, so as not able to react in time. Seeing that the 3 of them were in the state of enlightenment, Yang Kai also sat down cross-legged and looked at Domain Stone Mountain in front of him with interest. Before that, he could not imagine that there was such a large domain stone in the Blood Prison. He broke through dozens of domain vortexes, and only acquired 3 domain stones in total, all only the size of a fist, one of which was also given to Shui Ying. If such a large domain stone can be taken, Yang Kai was greatly moved, his eyes rolled and he laughed. Just making good calculations, Yang Kai suddenly changed his expression and turned to look aside. Not far away, a group of 4 people was rushing towards their side. After a short time, the 4 people came to the front of Domain Stone Mountain. They stopped their steps, all staring at Domain Stone Mountain with scorching eyes, breathing quickly. One by one showed a look of joy and excitement. The appearance of Domain Stone Mountain is an opportunity for anyone. You finally came. Someone greeted him and complained. Xianxia looked carefully. This person was the guy who sneered at him before. He and his other companion had been contacting someone and had been paying attention to Qiantong and others. It seemed that the companion they had contacted before arrived. I had some trouble on the road. I ran into an enchantress. The leading man replied in a deep voice. Enchantress? The questioner showed a stunned expression. Well, I don't know where she comes from. The strength is outrageous. If it weren't for the 4 of us, I'm afraid we would not be able to repel her. Fortunately, we were able to surround and hurt her, but unfortunately, let her run away. The leading man replied angrily. That enchantress is really beautiful. Brother Kame, you haven't seen her. I'm afraid you won't even be able to walk if you saw her. Someone laughed. Is there such an exaggeration? The cultivator surnamed Kai curled his lips, obviously a little unbelieving. It's not that I'm exaggerating. That enchantress is definitely the most beautiful woman I have ever seen in my life, but the aura on her body is also very weird. Forget it, let's not mention the enchantress. The leading man waved his hand and interrupted the man's chatter. Brother Kai, what's the situation here? That's it. The man surnamed Kai shrugged. You have also seen that the innermost layer is already occupied by the first-comers in such a big place around the Rocky Mountains, but if you go outside, there is still a large location. To be continued.